Kakadosh, Boker Or. Daf Yomi Masechet Zevachim, Daf Lamedvav Amudale 36A1. 36, yeah? Yeah, you know what 36 is. Lamedvav Tzadikim. We're going to start on the Mishnah, Lamed Hamud Bet. Lamed Hamud Bet, the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Shechato al menat laniach damo o emurav lemachar o lotzia lachutz. Imagine you did a shechita to a korban on condition to leave over the blood or the emurim tomorrow or to take them outside. Rabbi Yehuda posel. Rabbi Yehuda comes and he says it's going to be pasul. Chachamim machshirim and Chachamim come and they say that it's going to be kosher. It's not going to be pasul. Al menat litenan al gabe hakevesh. If it was going to be, right? So again, basically he's saying that it's not going to posel according to Chachamim. That means even though there wasn't a machshava on the achila or achilat mizbeach, it was on something else. So according to Shitat Rabbi Yehuda posel, Chachamim kasher. Because according to Chachamim, it was only on the personal eating, meaning the eating of a human being, or the eating of the mizbeach, but not right of the korban, not on anything else. Al menat litina la gabe kevesh. If you wanted to right now put the blood on the kevesh, look at it. So veliten telimala lemata 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 lebala v'nitanim b'chutz b'fnim b'chutz b'chutz b'fnim. Right? Shiyochlu, right? Tmeim, or shiyakrivu tmeim. That the people that are tamei are going to eat it, or the ones that are bringing it are going to be eat it. Or shiyochlu arelim v'shiyakrivu arelim. Or it's going to be that the arelim, that means non-circumcised people, yeah, the phones, right? Or that they're going to bring them lishbor bedam psulim, or to break the bones of the Pesach, which we know that there's an avirah. Parashat Bo, there's an avirah of breaking the bones of the Pesach, because we have to eat it like kings. Kings do not break bones and eat bones. Right? Le'echol mimenu na, or to eat it na, because it says in the Torah, tochelu mimenu na, kim tzliesh, right? Right? So he says, ularev damo bedam psulim, or to sprinkle, to mix the blood with dam psulim, kasher. She'en machshava poselet b'chutz mizmano chutz mikomo b'pesach v'chatat l'shol lishman. The only time that you're going to have a pasul, which is going to be that's going to disqualify the korban, is only going to be chutz mizmano v'chutz mikomo, which means outside of the proper time or outside the proper place, or the pesach and the chatat shelo lishman. There's the Gemara. Lamed Vav Amud Aleph Gemara. My time at Rabbi Yehuda. What's the reasoning of Rabbi Yehuda that he says that it's going to be posel if it had nothing to do with the eating of the human being or the mizbeach? Samar Rabbi Lazar says Rabbi Lazar trek reactive. There's two different psukim benotar. Katuv echad omer, one pasuk says lo tiru mimenu ad boker. Katuv echad omer lo yaniach mimenu ad boker. So two different psukim saying that you're not supposed to have leftovers. Lo totiru mimenu ad boker or lo yaniach mimenu ad boker. So if you don't need it for the leftovers, so have it for the machshava of leftovers. And therefore, according to him, he's saying that just like there exists the concept of a psul by everything else, there exists the concept of psul also by notar. Rabbi Yehuda, he says what? You need it for this pasuk? He says, you need it for something else. Right? It's going to learn for a todah that is going to be eaten for right liyom v'layla chalifim v'ladot tmurot minayin. How do you know? Tamulmar uvsar, when it says chatat v'asham, right, minayin. Tamulmar zevach uminayin lerabot shalmei nazir v'shalmei pesach. Tamulmar shlamav lachmei todah v'chalot v'rekim nazir minayin. Tamulmar korbano. What are we coming to teach you? We're trying to teach you from this pasuk uvsar todat v'chul v'chul in all these things. We're trying to teach you kulan koreani ba'en lo yaniach, that you're not allowed to have notar in any of them, meaning that they're not going to be eaten only leyom v'layla. So therefore, since the pasuk of lo yaniach mimenu ad boker is coming to teach you the concept of that all these korbanot are lo yaniach mimenu ad boker, meaning coming to todah shlamim adet. So therefore, it's not extra to teach you now that that it can make a pasul. One more time. Comes Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, even on notar, there's a concept of pasul. How? It says twice, lo yaniach mimenu al boker, or lo tutiru mimenu yaniach al boker. Basically, the concept, don't have leftovers. So he says, if you don't need it anymore for there, because I already told you not to have eat the leftovers, so therefore it's on the machshava pasul. It's on the machshava, and it's going to disqualify. Ask the Gemara, what are you talking about? That we need. How do you know that notar applies to all these cases? We're talking about todah. Right? We're talking about chalifin. Chalifin are substitutes. Vladot, the children. Tmurot, other substitutes. Right? And then it says, Uvsar. Chatat Hashem, how do you know? Zevach. Shalmei Nazir, Shalmei Pesach. How do you know? Shlamav. Lachmei Todah, the breads of the Todah offering. The Chalot Rekimim Nazir, how do you know? Korbano. Meaning, this pasuk, as the pasuk says, Uvsar, Zevach, Todah, Shlamav, Biyom Kol Yachel, Lo Yaniach Mimenu Aboker. That pasuk is needed, that notar applies to all the other korbanot. So if I need it for something else, it's not extra. You told me it's extra. So since it's extra, now I could use it for the machshava. It's not correct. It's not extra. You need it. So says the Gemara, im ken if so, lo imakar, the pasuk says lo tutiru menu boker. Why does it say now lo yaniach? Meaning, why did it change it? It lo tutiru menu boker, totiru, right, is to leave over. Why does it say now lo yaniach? Right? Laniach. Why does it say that? So he says, if you don't need it for the maniach, so meaning that the fact that the Torah changed the language and didn't use the same terminology of lo tutiru mimenu aboker, and it changed lo yaniach mimenu aboker, that's why it's machshevet tinuach. Machshevet tinuach means the mindset of leaving it over. That already is going to disqualify it. That is shitat Rabbi Yehuda. Okay? So says the Gemara, hateinach, that's good. Leaniach is leotzi. It's to take it outside of the proper place. Right, sorry. Hateinach leaniach. Leotzi, what are you going to say for leotzi? Leotzi is to take it out of the proper place. Leaniach is leftovers. So he says, ve'od tamad Rabbi Yomi misvara. It's also logic. Titanya amar lehem Rabbi Yehuda. Iatem odim shenichu lemachar shem right shu pasul. Av chishev lanichol machar is also going to be pasul. So you see that it's a svara. It's nothing to do with the pasuk. So he says, Elatamad Rabbi Yehuda, you're right. The reasoning of Yehuda is svara. It's a svara. Nothing to do with the pasuk. Meaning we were trying to look for psukim and for extra and for this. No, you're right. It's only a logic. What do you mean? Only logic, nothing to do with the pasuk. It's a logic that he's trying to say that just like if right now, if you left something over, he says, also, even the thought of leaving over, that's already posel. Shitat Rabbi Yehuda. So ask the Gemara, Nami Rabbi Yehuda bekulu. So why doesn't Rabbi Yehuda argue on all of them then? Right? So he says, Behind flog, he says, which one do you want him to argue? Beshover atzamot, Pesach, velechol mimenuna, zivcha gufe mimifsal. He says, if you right now came and you broke the bones of the Pesach, or you ate it raw instead of eating it roasted. Remember, the basar, you have the basar Pesach, you have to eat it roasted. Let's say you ate it. So he says, what? The gambasul doesn't mean gambasul. So he says, al menat sheochlu tamim. Let's say the next one. You understood the question, because basically what happened was, in the Mishnah, the machloke between Chachamim and Rabbi Yehuda was only in the first case, which was basically laniach damo or emurav lemachar. That was only machloke between Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim. Everything else was according to everybody. Now the question is, why doesn't Rabbi Yehuda, if it's svara, he should argue on everything? So the Gemara asks, which one is he going to argue? If he's going to argue in breaking the bones of the Pesach or the what's it called, the eating it raw, it doesn't become pasul. So why would it make it disqualified? He says al menat sheyochlu tameim, that people that are tameh that are going to eat it, or that you're going to bring it tameh, meaning you're a kohen and you're going to bring it tameh. Zivche gufe misal, does it become pasul? Doesn't become pasul, right? Meaning, since these things don't disqualify the korban, so therefore it's not going to make it pasul. Sheyochlu arelim, sheklu arelim, again it doesn't become pasul, right? So therefore, basically, the reason why is because it has to be another reason. So lishnachlin, another language, another text, kol kemine, which means that anything which you're going to think on something talui ba'acherim, and they're not going to listen to him, it's not a machshava. Meaning, if I bring the korban, and I'm going to think that somebody tameh is going to bring it, a kohen tameh, can I force you to bring it? I'm asking you a question. Can I force you to bring it? If I'm the one that's bringing the korban, and I think that the one that's going to bring it or the one that's going to eat it is tameh, can that disqualify it? No. Why? Because if I cannot force you to do something and it's talui in your da'at, my machshava cannot be posel for your da'at. Yeah, exactly. Meaning my thought, kol kemina means, does he have the power to do so? Meaning my thought cannot come and disqualify something else. It has to be a maaseh that it's being done, or something that's talui bi, not talui ba'acherim. Has to do with me, not with anybody else. Yeah? So he says, la'arev daman bedam psulim, or to mix the blood of the korbanot with dam psulim. Rabbi Yehuda tameh, right? Rabbi Yehuda goes according to his reasoning. En dam vatel dam. The fish shitat Rabbi Yehuda, biglal shezamin bemino, right? It's the same species, blood and blood. So it's never been vatel. Meaning you cannot say, listen, you got majority of kosher blood. No. Blood and blood, gamarnu. Emalasot. Litenan tintanin lamala lamata lamata lamata. Rabbi Yehuda letameh. Teshelo bimkomo na bimkomo karim be. According to him, even if it's not mimkomo, that's called mikomo. And you remember that I told you that in the mizbeach, there was chuta sikra. You know what chuta sikra is? The red line, right? That's on the mizbeach. Now, certain korbanot you have to sprinkle above the red line. Certain korbanot below. Remember, you do the opposite. Below, above, below. So you made a mistake. You did the wrong thing. You sprinkled it on the wrong place, right? The Kohanim have to learn these halachot. They have to know what's above, what's below. How they're going to come to the mizbeach. Rabbi, come. You have to bring him in. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. So he comes, he has to bring. He said, Rabbi, why? He's an Amad, it's a Kohen. He doesn't know where to sprinkle above, below. He doesn't know. Yeah. So he comes and he says, according to Shitat Rabbi Yehuda goes according to his reasoning that he says Shalolim Komo is also called Mikomo. That means even if you put it on the Mizbeach on the wrong place, it's still called Mikomo. Veliflog. So why doesn't he argue? That means inside, outside, inside. Right? That means certain korbanot you have to bring on the outside, and certain korbanot you have to bring in the inside. What is brought on the inside? What's brought on the inside? Ktoret, chatata pnimiyit. Very good. You see, the doctor is always on ball. Kasava Rabbi Yehuda holds Rabbi Yehuda. Ba'inan mekom sheyeh meshulash bedam bebasar be'emurin. You needed the machshavas to be also on the blood, the flesh, right, the meat, and also in the murin in the limbs. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda Isfarad, does he hold of this? Vatani will learn to write Rabbi Yehuda Omen. Davar ra. Riba kan chatat shechrata bedarom v'chatat shenichratza malifnim psula. We add in that when you have a chatat which was slaughtered in the south, or a chatat that the blood came in, right, it's going to be psula. So v'reitil Rabbi Yehuda shlishi. So he says, fine, why don't you have also the shlishi, which means, right, the machshevet chutz lemkomos poselet, only if you thought makom meshulash, which is all three. Vatnan amar Rabbi Yehuda, im ichnis b'shogeg kasher. Habe mezid is pasul, but he said, what are you talking about? The kaimel and right b'shekiper. So he says that you see from here that you don't need the three things in total. So says the Gemara, hashta, umahatam aile, ikiper in lo kiper lo, it's not going to be kol sheken. So he says it's trei tanai aliba de Rabbi Yehuda. It's two tanaim according to Rabbi Yehuda. Meaning there's machlok. What is exactly shitat Rabbi Yehuda? Do you actually need meshulash or not? Right? Is it going to be posel even machshava aknasa lifnim or not? So it's a machloket. You're right. That means even in shitat Rabbi Yehuda, you have a machloket. Okay. So v'sava Rabbi Yehuda, does he hold chatat shechta b'darom? That if you have a chatat that was slaughtered in the south, yeah, 36b. Yeah, chayav, are you going to be chayav malkut? But Tanya, we learned in the right. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Yachol chatat shechta b'darom yeh chayav." I would have thought to say that if you have a chatat which was going to be slaughtered in the south, it's going to be chayav. Tamul omar al davar ra. Ata mechayavo, you're going to be mechayav to al davar ra v'yeh mechayavo al chatat shechta b'darom. So says the Gemara, Trei Tanai liba de Rabbi Yehuda. It's two Tanaim according to Rabbi Yehuda. Amar Rabbi Abba, says Rabbi Abba. Umoder Rabbi Yehuda, and says Umoder Rabbi Yehuda, shechozer v'kovo lepigul. There's going to be chozer, right, and it's going to be kovea to bepigul. So Amar Rava says, say that you should know the pigul lifnei zrika lo klumhu. The pigul before zrika is nothing, right? Ve'atia zrika v'kavel pigul. So comes zrika and it's going to be needed as a pigul. Velohi, but it's not true. Hatamu chada machshava. There it's only going to be one machshava, right? Which means it's only going to be one machshava for pigul to throw the blood outside of the zmano, right? And here you have two machshavot, right? Why? You have the first one, which is going to be laniach et ze lachar zmano, lotzi et ze, right? And number two is going to be which is machshavet pigul. So eitvei Ravuna le Rabbi Abba. So comes, asks Ravuna to Rabbi Abba, right? And he says as follows. Yeah, litenet anitani lemala lemata lemata lemala, right? Or lealtar, it's going to be kasher. If you put the ones above, below, below, above, if it's going to be immediately, it's going to be kosher. Chazar v'chishev, if you thought of doing it chutzim komo, it's going to be pasul, but there's no karet. Remember, outside of the mekomo is never karet. It's not pigul. It's only pasul. Chutzizmano, it's going to be pigul. Chayvim alav karet. Lemachar, if it's going to be for the next day, it's going to be pasul. Chazar v'chishev ben lechutzim as pasul. Then bo karet. So tiyufta de Rabbi Abba. So tiyufta. What does that mean? Here we're seeing that since it already became pasul before the pigul, it cannot become pigul afterwards. You remember we spoke about this already. You remember that we said that, for example, let's say they made a pasul, and then afterwards you thought of pigul. You're not chayav karet. Because since anyway it was already pasul, because of, let's say, chutzim komo or whatever it is, so even though now you thought of pigul, it cannot become karet and it cannot become bikul. It's only pasul. It cannot revive itself, as if to say. So tiyuvta, this is actually a question against Rabbi Abba. Says Rav Tanim Ravina Barsila, Chishev sheichlu tmim machar. If they thought to eat it to tmim for tomorrow, chayav, you're going to be chayav. Amar Rava says, Teda, you should know the basar lifnei zrika lo chazi, because the basar before the zrika is not fitting for eating. So therefore, still, when he's thinking about it, he's going to be make it pasul. So you see from here that even machshava on achila, which is not ruya, still makes a pigul. So says Gemara, it's not true. Hatam zariku michse, they threw the blood, and therefore it's fitting for the eating. Hechal klal here, it's not fitting at all. Meaning, you remember we said that it's only going to be pigul if it's fitting for consumption. But if they, for whatever reason, made it not fitting for consumption, so therefore it's not going to help. So Amar Rav Chasta says, if you have meat to the Pesach which was not roasted, yeah, or, right, lachme todah, which was not given over, they're going to be chayav mishum tumah. Rava says, Teda, you should know the Tanya was learned in the Braita, Yishel Asher LaHashem. Lerabot imurei kodshim kalim netumah. Alma afagav delav b'nei achila ninu. Meaning, even though they're not fitting for eating, they're still going to be chayav mishum tumah, right? Because they're kravim LaHashem. Achenami afagav delav b'nei achila ninu. So to here, even though the basar pesach, which was not roasted, right, it wasn't separated, chayvim alim mishum tumah. They're still going to be chayav mishum tumah. Meaning, I would have thought to say, listen, you have a pesach. Anyway, it wasn't roasted, so it's not like kosher kilo. So now, if you're going to be tameh and you're going to eat it, big deal. No, you're still going to be chayav. That means even though, why? Because it's still to Hashem. So it says, but it's not true. Why? Right, it's still fitting for something, but here it's not even fitting for gavoa. It's not for Hashem, it's not for anybody. Right? So again, there's lishna chalina that, that it skips it out. Adran alach, kol apsulim.